to the Texas Longhorns because DeMarcus Holland's name was in the scorebook. Under 10 minutes, they changed that. Holland is not here, so TCU has a 1-0 lead on a Chauncey Collins RBI single in the first.
And that is unfortunate. DeMarcus Holland's not here because of the death of his grandmother, and you know, it's one of those mix-ups that some assistant coach, I'm sure, is going to get his rear end chewed out because it's just a mess up. And you've got to turn in your starting lineup 10 minutes before tip. And once you turn it in, then that is official. And that's exactly right. Joe DeRoche came over and he said, look, I don't want to do this. I understand the young man's at a funeral. But at 10 minutes, he was still listed as a starter.
The rule is the rule. There's no flexibility on that. And so TCU leads 1-0 upon claiming the basketball.
And it's interesting. Nobody asked you and I whether we thought that was fair or whether we would have done the same thing.
Typically, you do go to get those equity questions before the game. So TCU ball, Brandon Parrish, the junior. It's a junior-heavy team. Just one senior on the TCU roster. Michael Williams off to Kavar Shepard. Texas has its first possession. You mentioned Felix going right to the rim.
Now, listen, Isaiah Taylor doing such a nice job of making the easy pass. And there's Connor Lambert, our X factor to start this game.
Off the dribble, Lambert got a little too deep, and here comes TCU. With Texas losing Ridley, how do they recover defensively?
Now, that's the biggest challenge. Prince Ebay has the skill set to dominate the paint and protect the rim like he just did.
There he is off the step through. Taylor, 2 and a foul.
I cannot imagine a better start to this game for the Texas Longhorns than 2 run-out layups and a block shot by Prince Ebay.
Here's a starting lineup for each team. Taylor, Felix, and Kendall Yancey with his second start, along with Lambert and Ebay. And TCU starting Williams at the point. We will see Chauncey Collins before very long, and he does have TCU's only point, so a non-starter has the first point for TCU.
And Vladimir Brodzianski, not starting for TCU, has struggled a little bit the last 3 games, averaging just 7 points per game, and Trent Johnson electing to go with Chris Washburn.
Washburn back from injury, and there he is. He's missed all but 3 games so far, and Washburn heading to the free throw line.
I hardly recognized Chris Washburn when I walked into the arena. He played last year. They listed him at about 275, and he was a cheeseburger away from 3 bills. I'm telling you, he was big, and he has completely changed his body.
That's especially interesting considering he'd been out with a hand injury. Sometimes difficult to keep in shape when you're hurt, right?
He has done a terrific job and good discipline, and was talking to the coaches before the game, and they've been very pleased. He was out here about 2 hours before the game taking shots inside the paint and was really working hard on game day.
And a carry called against Isaiah Taylor.
Now, that is the right call, and if you're going to defend Isaiah Taylor, you've got to excel on the ball screens.
Shaka Smart still getting his players into this Texas program, taking over for Rick Barnes now at Tennessee. But boy, that guy runs a high-energy shoot-around, and we saw it earlier today. Even though he's undermanned this evening, DeMarcus Holland dealing with some family issues, the death of his grandmother. He will not be here and will not play. And they go down low to Washburn for the first field goal. Kendall Yancey has not been much of a scorer, gets the start here and has his first bucket.
Well, this is a kid that started a lot of games last year, only averaging 7 minutes per game for Shaka Smart.
Got the tip that time, and Yancey the turnover. Nearly had 5 straight.
Texas pressing off of makes and off of misses.
Well, you said it before the game. Turnovers have been a big issue for TCU this year. About 15 a game for the Horned Frogs. They are getting 16 per from opponents. But you'd imagine tonight Texas, as the foul called against the Horns, you'd imagine Texas is going to pray on that this evening, or try to. Trent Johnson in his 4th season at TCU.
Well, compounding the problem for Trent Johnson and assists, they are last in the Big 12 in assists to turnover ratios, and Trent Johnson still looking for his first win against the Texas Longhorns.
What do you think it takes tonight for him to get that?
They got to get the rebounds. They are 7-0 when TCU's out-rebounded the opponents. They've got to win the battle on the boards.
Making 3 every once in a while, too. Brandon Parrish has shot very well from beyond the arc this year.
49% is a very high number for Brandon Parrish.
Downstairs, Shaq Claire, the Maryland transfer, couldn't hit. Nice move, down low. We've seen Washburn, we've seen Shepard, we've seen a 3 early from Parrish as well. TCU some balanced scoring.
Now the second basket where Chris Washburn has caught the ball up at the top of the key and put that ball down on the glass and just down on the floor and just attacked the glass. And nice finish by Chris Washburn. And that is twice that Connor Lambert has been beat off the dribble.
More of a stretch 4 than a 5 himself, Lambert, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, there's no question about that. But that's not what you think of with Chris Washburn. He's a wide-body post kid, so you don't think about going so far out on him that then you give up the dribble drive. I'd almost sag back and say, why don't you knock down a couple of shots before I come out and pressure you?
Lambert, late decision to drop it off, and it was smart to Claire.
Shaq Claire did a nice job keeping his eye on the ball because I think everybody in the arena thought that Lambert was going to shoot that 3.
There's that pressure as Brodzianski has checked in, the sophomore from Slovakia.
As long as you don't get beat on the back end, a press was effective. You don't have to always get a turnover.
Malik Trent, the backside for 2, the sophomore from Virginia.
Constant pressure will wear on you, and eventually you get turnovers in a bunch when a team presses for 94 feet.
Now TCU a chance to run. Chauncey Collins slides in for 2. Early largest lead for TCU, searching for its first league win after a close loss against West Virginia on Monday.
Trent Johnson continuing to bring Chauncey Collins off of the bench, kind of a Vinnie Johnson microwave, hoping to get an offensive burst, and certainly did against West Virginia the other night. Chauncey Collins with 20 points off the bench against the Mountaineers.
4 straight double-figure games for him as Texas gets Isaiah Taylor slipping in for 2. He's got 4 in the first 5 minutes.
1-2-1-1 press with 6'9" Connor Lambert on the point.
Easy run to the rim for Washburn, and he couldn't finish. TCU had made its last 5 field goals, and Texas will have the ball coming out of the timeout. Longhorns and Horned Frogs. Texas has won 11 straight against TCU, but the Frogs early in this one in Fort Worth have a 2-point lead.
Start this game, all 5 field goals for the Longhorns have come from inside the paint. Second time they've gotten the ball inside to Shaq Claire.
Post touch for Claire. No good. And by the way, that's not just any assistant coach. That's our former colleague, Darren Horn, who's back to the other side on the bench next to Shaka Smart.
Have you noticed Darren's gotten quieter since he's moved down a little bit?
That's right.
In seats?
Yeah. I think he's just letting it breathe.
You think?
Is what they say in the TV world. Texas could take the lead with a 3. The Horns at 9-5 with a win over Carolina back in mid-December. Again into the post for Claire. He got a good look one more time.
And that's the 3rd time that he's been able to catch the ball with both feet in the paint.
When TCU's at its best, what's the offense look like?
Yeah, that's a tough question because their offense hasn't been very good all year long. They've struggled scoring. They've struggled shooting the three. They're very low field goal percentage. They've got to move the ball, and I don't think that Kavar Shepard gets enough touches inside. I think he's a kid that could average 15 points and 10 rebounds, but that is indicative, and holy cow, what a terrible foul. A bailout. That's almost unforgivable, and Shaka Smart will not be pleased with that.
And Kerwin Roach with the challenge on Chauncey Collins, and 3 free throws coming. Shaka Smart speechless.
Well, the shot clock was under 1, and Chauncey Collins was about 35 feet from the basket.
81% foul shooter, missed the first. The sophomore from Oklahoma City. He was homeschooled. He's become a big scorer for TCU in recent weeks. And we remind you that the College Football Playoff National Championship game presented by AT&T is just around the corner. Derrick Henry and the Crimson Tide, Deshaun Watson, Dabo and the undefeated Tigers. Monday, January 11th, 8:30 on ESPN. Also streaming live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. That's 8:30 Eastern Time as Collins goes 2 for 3. You'll be watching, right?
Yes, I will.
You're going to watch the megacast?
Well, I am looking forward to that.
Taylor for 2. He has 6 of the 12 for the Horns. Foul called. Tight whistle early on. Eric Davis off the overplay.
Isaiah Taylor is so good going right or left, and it's unusual to see him go left and finish with his right hand. He's so ambidextrous, and I've always felt like he finishes with his left hand maybe better than he does with his right.
Really?
He is so tough when he goes left, and in the scouting report, you've just got to take that away from him. You know, nice rotation by Connor Lambert. Prince eBay on the ground, and Connor doing a nice job rotating over and then just playing belly up defense.
Off the post opportunity for Shepard. You talk about Taylor, last 4 games, 24 plus points per game. So without Ridley, they're using the guards significantly more for points.
Well, and not just the points, but shooting 51% and a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, playing as well as any point guard in America right now.
Foul called down low as Brodzianski was running the baseline.
Brodzianski is a really good story. He went to a prep school and played 1 year of junior college ball, but he was a qualifier. It means his academics were such that he would pass the clearinghouse. It kind of just fell under the radar, and what a great recruiting job Trent Johnson and Brent Scott and his coaching staff did to pick this kid out and still have 3 years of eligibility left. Comes into the game averaging 13 points, 5 rebounds.
From Slovakia, speaks 3 different languages. Texas collapses on Washburn, and he whistles it out of bounds.
You know, just really bad fundamentals. You can't throw the ball across your body. Trent Johnson would rather see Chris Washburn catch that ball, turn his shoulders, and square up to where he's throwing it.
And there's a clock issue with exactly 12 to go here in the first half. Again, this game started with a little of a herky-jerky feel. There was an administrative technical foul because of Texas and a scorebook issue. They put in a starting lineup involving a player who was not here, DeMarcus Holland. So TCU started in a 1-0 lead before the jump, and now the clock placed at 11:58, and we'll have a timeout at the next whistle. Was that your first pregame administrative technical?
It is, since they allowed you to dunk during warm-ups.
You'd have liked that in your Houston days.
Yeah. Good defense.
Eric Davis to Phillips. 3 to shoot, and it blocked away by Trent. Malik Trent the other way. Rimmed it out, and a foul against Washburn. TCU and Texas, 2-point lead for the Frogs.
Defense making the difference the last possession for the Horned Frogs and doing a nice job attacking the basket, and Horned Frogs up by 2. Done a tremendous job in this renovation.
They weathered the last year and a half playing at the Wilkerson Grimes multi-purpose facility down the road, and they have gotten the payoff on the back end here into conference play, leading by 2 against Texas early on.
Well, we talked about the importance of points in the paint for the Longhorns. They are 6 of 9 inside the paint. Make that 7 of 10, and outside the paint they are 0 for 6.
Trouble getting it in. Texas, despite being a little bit undermanned, very willing to lay on the pressure and continue doing it all game long. You see Kansas, Texas Tech going to follow us in a very deep Big 12. We learned more about that today with Baylor's win against Iowa State.
Well, what a game Jonathan Motley had in that game. 27 points, 13 rebounds. But Lester Medford for the Bears, 16 points, 11 assists, and 0 turnovers at Hilton.
Felix for 2 more, and Texas has a 6-0 run.
Well, right now TCU not keeping the Longhorns out of the paint at all.
J.D. Miller, the freshman, very athletic young man, off the pivot for 2.
A beautiful step through, avoided the double team, and a nice big step across the lane, turning over his left shoulder.
Part of a very young TCU team, sophomore heavy, couple of freshmen, and the junior class really the one that makes them go. And another whistle against Texas. eBay in foul trouble, the Big with 2 personal fouls.
The Longhorns getting to the paint almost every possession down, and then for TCU, J.D. Miller, that big beautiful step. He started outside the paint and finished on the right side of the rim.
Little zone from Texas here.
TCU wants to attack down there in the short corner with the high post dive right there.
Clean look for Shepard. Offensive rebound for Washburn. And a 3 goes down for Brandon Parrish, his second.
A nice job catching that ball, shot ready. And that's the second time Javon Felix, after a made basket, has just run out and gotten all the way to the rim.
Whose job is that to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, you got to rotate back, and whether you have 1 or 2 guys back, but watch the shot go up, and then immediately after the shot, you're pointing and kind of jogging, and somebody needs to be sprinting back to the paint. And you have designations. So you have a fullback or a halfback, somebody that's all the way back, your fullback. The guy in between the midcourt line and the top of the key is called your halfback. And so most teams will have 2 men back responsible.
Williams clears the rebound for TCU, hoping for its first win against Texas since 1995 here in Fort Worth.
11 consecutive losses, 15 out of the last 16. Never beat them as a Big 12 opponent.
Washburn going to work. That was pretty.
Yeah, good job getting back that time. There's Chauncey Collins running back in transition defense.
A lot of time for Texas. 13 to shoot. Ford Taylor, the junior out of the state of California. Blair just at the shot clock buzzer.
That's about the 3rd or 4th time that Shaq Clare has caught the ball down there low, and he is working really hard. They're going to check and see if that was a shot clock violation, but a good up fake, and boy, they're going hard to him. That's the most aggressive I've seen Shaq Clare, not just once he catches the ball, but asking for the ball. And you tell your big guys, you know, if you don't want it, you're not going to get it. And right now, Shaq Clare's coming across there. He's sticking his hand up, and he is demanding that ball. And Well, that could be your answer. If you're a Longhorn fan saying, how do we replace Cam Ridley? Well, there's the #1 candidate right there.
A couple years at Maryland, transferred in fall of 2014. Let's take a look. Is the ball released before a 0 on the shot clock?
No.
Doesn't look like it.
No, I don't think so.
So again, off the made basket, they can go to the monitor and look at the shot clock situation. So this may come off the board for Claire.
I like this rule.
You do?
You know what? I like all the new rules.
No good is the announcement we're getting from the officiating crew. So 8:16 will go on the clock.
The game has become more fluid. The possessions per game last year in the power conferences, the best power conference that had the most possessions per game this year would be in last place. And so the rules are working. Scoring is up, and it's not a result of an enormous number. Fouls have only increased 1 or 2. Free throws, points off free throws, only 1 or 2. And points have been up between 5 and 7.5 points the entire season. Now these officials have got to keep it going into January and February.
Usually the spot where it becomes difficult, and maybe they'll fall back into old habits. So 5-point lead. The 2 comes off the board, and 2 free throws coming for TCU, which shot 40 times from the line on Monday against West Virginia.
Suddenly fouls becoming an issue for the Texas big man. Prince Ebay over on the bench. Connor Lambert with a foul. And again, Chris Washburn putting pressure on the defense with his dribble drives.
He has 7 points. The junior transfer from UTEP, who again missed all but the final 3 games most recently for TCU with that hand injury. And a 9-0 run now for the Horned Frogs. It was briefly interrupted, then reinstalled after the shot clock violation. Where does Texas go now?
Right there. Isaiah Taylor's where you go, and he's just so hard to defend. And that's the first time I've seen TCU rotate over from the backside. Kavar Shepard.
And they set up a 3 for Parrish. He has 3 of them. Timeout. Brandon Parrish shooting now over 50% from 3 on the year off the block. TCU has a 10-point advantage. Football playoff national championship game presented by AT&T Monday, 8:30 Eastern, also on Watch ESPN. You've always wanted to live in a pylon. You can see what it's like during the megacast.
You know, I went to college. I lived in a pylon.
Offensive foul against Claire off the clear out, and that's his 2nd personal.
Texas really out of rhythm right now. Chris Washburn and Brandon Parrish have combined to outscore Shaq Claire and all of his teammates, and that is absolutely the right call. And so often you see somebody playing defense and they think it's macho, you know, to be tough. And and you get hit like that, go down, young man.
That's the one piece of basketball I was very good at.
Going down.
Spilling. Yeah. 2 personal fouls against both big guys, Ebay and Claire, for Texas. That's bad news.
Good
big to big passing into the corner. And Parrish would have had a season high 4-3. Big block for Shepard.
Okay, let me tell you something. I'm not big on showing somebody up, but this is really good by Kavar Shepard. He needs to play with more passion and more energy. And when he makes plays like this, I'm okay with him going, ugh! You know, doing something to bring enthusiasm and momentum and excitement. And, well, that's as aggressive as I have seen him in 2 years.
Claire offensive rebound. 2 free throws coming. And back to Shepard. You know, he turned away from the opponent as well while he did that. So you get the aggressiveness plus a little sportsmanship, dodge the technical foul situation.
But, you know, it's good officiating. You know, let's don't micromanage so much that we take the fun and enthusiasm out of it. You make a play like that, you ought to be excited. And, boy, if this kid could learn to play with his motor running like that for 40 minutes, shoot. Let me tell you something. The boy, sky's the limit for this kid.
32 starts last year. Earlier this season, career high 19 rebounds in a game. He had 16 in one game last year, so the flickers have been there.
Now, he's a double-double waiting to happen, and it's just a matter, I don't know whether it's, you know, motor that he's thinking too much and not just relaxing, but 6'10", long arms, bouncy, you know, he can be really, really good, and there isn't a reason in the world. He's averaging 9 and 7, but he's a kid that ought to put up 15 and 10. Sit next to Brent Scott. You want to talk about a double-double machine. Boy, Brent Scott could put up some double-doubles. Rice Owls.
Quick foul against Shepard, so he takes a seat for the moment. And they get inside again. We've seen Michael Williams do it with penetration. It's a 10-point lead again. Texas responds. Felix has 6. Felix, who had the game winner against Carolina back in December.
Nobody in the middle. There you go. Trent Johnson jumped up in front of us and said, get to the middle. And you're coming down against a full court press. You want to reverse sides, get the ball to the middle, and then everybody run their lanes.
Brodziatsky looked like he thought better of it, wanted to pass it, went up with the shot anyway, and missed.
Almost shot that like he felt like he had to shoot it.
Lambert into the body of Washburn, and that's 2 against Washburn.
Hey, listen, Brandon Parrish just played excellent defense against Isaiah Taylor. First, we'll take a look at Williams for TCU on a nice dribble drive, and then down on the other side, Javon Felix responds immediately with a penetration. But Brandon Parrish picked up Isaiah Taylor in transition. He stopped him, and then he stepped back. And so the difficulty with Isaiah Taylor is if you let him get going downhill, if you give him a gap and he gets speed going, you're not going to stop him. But you've got to tempt him to shoot that jump shot. Outside of 18 feet is where you want to make Isaiah Taylor prove that he can beat you.
Just 7 for 25 from three-point range this year. Felix has 2 more. The senior out of St. Augustine in New Orleans, same high school that brought LSU Leonard Fournette in football. And Texas again, another turnover and a missed shot for Kerwin Roach. See how TCU handles some zone. Just a 31% three-point shooting team for the year.
Boy, really leaving that short corner open. Those wings in that zone are coming up really high.
There it is, into the short corner. Devontae Abram, and Texas ball.
Well, nice job of Prince eBay moving his feet, and Trent Johnson saying, move the ball, move it.
You're saying just with more pace?
Yeah, he's talking about swing the ball from side to side. You attack a zone, you want the zone to contract and expand, and you've got to move the ball, and you can make it contract by a pass or a dribble penetration, but you can't just stay on one side.
How about the quick feed from Felix there to sneak into the paint?
Javon Felix is playing really, really well, and as good as he's doing shooting the ball and behind the three-point line, he's been so sound with the basketball, making good decisions when to take it all the way to the rim and when to get off of it. He has doubled his assist-to-turnover ratio in the correct direction, 2-to-1.
And with that free throw, he now has 1,000 points with the Texas Longhorns. He's over 1,000. Horns within 5 at 28-23, and Felix in his 114th career game, putting up big numbers tonight. Timeout TCU, so the Horns clawing back into this game. Against NC State, Marcus Page, Bryce Johnson putting up big numbers for Roy Williams.
Yeah, big numbers, Bryce Johnson. That would be an understatement. And you look at those numbers and look, North Carolina, that win over North Carolina by the Texas Longhorns, that is going to be the gift that keeps on giving all season long. They're going to stay up around the top 5 until we get to the NCAA tournament.
2 to shoot. Williams, too strong. Looked like it might have been a 3-on-1. The wipe away by Miller.
Holy smokes, what an athletic play by J.D. Miller.
5 blocks for TCU. Felix, no sir.
Well, J.D. Miller went up and got that ball at its apex. I mean, he got that right where it stopped going up and it had not yet started coming down.
Almost in slow motion as the play developed.
That was awesome.
Trent Johnson almost at midcourt, telling his players to hit the wings. Devontae Abram down low for 2. Powerful drive by Roach. eBay got a hand on it in TCU basketball.
J.D. Miller took that shot and immediately snapped his head over there to the bench and was not sure the coaches wanted him shooting that one.
That is,
let me tell you something. They may not want J.D. shooting threes, but they do want J.D. blocking shots like this. Big defensive stop on the other end.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Progressive. Comparing rates.
4 teams, really 3 teams that are legitimate national championship contenders. They've got 2 National Player of the Year candidates in Buddy Hield and Georges Niang. The championship's still going to go through Lawrence, through Kansas. But at the end of the day, one of these teams needs to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. Because for the last 2 or 3 years, we've talked about how deep the conference is. And it's time for this deep conference to have some teams to make a deep run in March.
6 to shoot for TCU. The freshman Miller didn't get the roll. Offense is run through Felix. He got Collins to fall, didn't take advantage of it. That could have been a foul against eBay, certainly. Would have been 3 against Prince eBay. And we take a look at the headlines, the Big 12. Jonathan Motley, the double-double for Baylor. West Virginia still unbeaten in the league. And Kansas, Texas Tech. Look out maybe for the Jayhawks tonight after our game.
Yeah, they're going to get their hands full. Texas Tech's got a really good team this year and a lot of pieces. Well, that Baylor win in Ames, Iowa served notice that Baylor intends to be a factor in this conference. It was a really big win. Nice defense here. This is what Prince eBay brings. You talk about how do you replace Cameron Ridley. Well, Shaq Clare can do it on the offensive end, and Prince eBay can do it on the defensive end.
Quick recovery there. Looked like the short corner was open, and eBay closed the door. 8 on the shot clock. Collins with a hand in his face. Eric Davis, the freshman, and a sizable Texas contingent makes some noise on the first field goal outside of the paint tonight for the Horns. Boy, Miller,
he looks
showing
good.
strong.
Yeah, J.D. Miller looks really good. Yeah, see, here's the problem, and Trent Johnson's got to be so frustrated. They score a layup on one end and then turn around and give up a layup on the other.
Isaiah Taylor now a point shy of 1,000. Told you Felix is already there in his Texas career. Down to a minute to go. First half in the 169th meeting between these two schools. Shepard, long 2.
As high as those forwards are coming up in that 2-3 zone, that's a soft spot right now if TCU can consistently knock down that 10-foot shot in the short corner. Ooh, man.
There's a clear out up top on J.D. Miller.
Well, you know whose fault that is? That's Chauncey Collins not telling him that the screen is there. J.D. Miller had no idea. Here's that short corner shot. You throw the ball down there. You catch it before the defense rotates. Texas's forwards are coming way up high, almost to the free throw line extended in that 2-3 zone.
So off the Miller foul, a 1-and-1. And Taylor now at 1,000 points for his Longhorn career.
Communication a little bit of an issue right now for TCU on both ends of the court. We just saw Chauncey Collins not telling J.D. Miller that the screen was there, and then last couple of possessions they've had a late shot clock situation, and I don't think anybody on the floor realized it, and Chauncey Collins is relying upon Trent Johnson jumping up yelling clock, clock, and well, one of those guys on the floor has got to have his mind and his eyes up there checking how much time's left.
Yeah, and that's not exactly the most positive body language we saw there from Collins. The frustration, ducked his head, had an up and down freshman year in terms of minutes, playing more here. And Texas ball with under 30 to go. First half. Claire against Abram, no shot. Foul is on the floor and a 1-and-1 on the way for Shaq Claire.
Shaq Claire doing his best to become an offensive weapon for Texas down there in the paint. Has not played a bunch of minutes this year, and with no Cameron Ridley, he looks pretty good. Cameron over there next to Darren Horn in sweats and had foot surgery. They're estimating 8 to 10 weeks. And, you know, if you do the math from when he had the surgery, that puts it right about the first week of March. And you have to wonder, of a big guy, a big thick body, you know, what kind of shape can you be in? And they'll do all sorts of cardio work, but obviously that ankle is not going to allow him to do a whole lot to get into playing shape.
Well, you were talking about it before the game. Texas was so adamant to get the ball inside to him early in the year, and then the total adjustment is difficult to take. Trap is on. Timeout, TCU.
Yeah, and maybe for the first time in 3 years, Cameron Ridley getting very close to his potential, you know, putting up numbers, productive numbers, you know, having a presence on both ends of the floor, 13 points, 10 rebounds, and almost 4 blocks per game. And boy, that is a presence. And what you said, Jason's exactly right. If you watch the Longhorns in non-conference, they were inside out.
Well played. Got a couple home games coming up. Final possession maybe for TCU, first half. The leaks right in Williams' pocket and nearly took it away from him. Williams turned the corner. Lambert clears the rebound.
Good
Texas
push.
has time. Taylor's pass deflected, taken away. TCU has the lead going into halftime. It was up to 10 at one point, 28-18. That has dwindled down to 2 at the break. In game
behind the three-point line in the first half for the Texas Longhorns.
You see Brodzianski with no points on an average of nearly 13. Brandon Parrish has 9, one above his average off 3 threes for TCU. Kendall Yancey in a reach-in. Foul call.
TCU very much needs Vladimir Brodzianski to get going. The last 3 games, he's only averaged 7 points per game. The 7 prior to that averaged 17 points per game. And well, you see him on the bench, and you just wonder, you know, what's going through his mind right now. But boy, the Horned Frogs need him to be at their best.
Had 8 in 17 minutes in the game against West Virginia on Monday. They were up 2 at the half in that game, lost by 8. Same situation tonight, and a stop for eBay. Another turnover. TCU last in the Big 12 in turnovers per game. It strikes again.
Full court pressure has been effective. TCU only had 5 turnovers in the first half, but boy, they just never really looked comfortable breaking the press. Good defense.
Taylor into Parrish.
Well, that was great on the ball defense by Brandon Parrish.
Kamari Shepard off one dribble for 2. Strong move there from Shepard.
Oh, nice hands. He caught that ball, was a little bit behind him, back over his right shoulder. Did a nice job of catching it and not traveling.
Off a season high 18 in the loss against West Virginia. TCU 0-2 in the league. Texas 1-1. Felix again navigates through the defense.
Chris Washburn is guarding somebody on the opposite block. Javon Felix is in the dead corner, dribbles all the way to the rim, and Chris Washburn doesn't even step on the midline, much less come over and cut off the dribble penetration.
Is that communication?
No, that's just position. I mean, when you're offside ball, you need to have midline awareness. You need to be on the midline, but when the ball's coming at you, you need to be outside the paint meeting that dribble drive.
Shepherd over eBay, and Texas can take the lead for the first time in a long while. With 6-3, it's 16-14, and my goodness, eBay from Felix.
If you can hit the backboard with a pass, it's probably a pretty good pass to Prince eBay. He has unbelievable leaping ability. Well, they need a timeout.
Perfect timing. Taylor's there waiting for it. And here comes the timeout.
Well, Trent Johnson's calling it, but the coach can't call it. And I think they got a... that was close to a 5-second violation. Trent Johnson was yelling at the new rule, live ball action. The coach can't call timeout. Somebody on the floor has to call the timeout.
Once the ball's accepted.
Pressure release when you can just toss it up there and let eBay go get it. But great start to the second half for the Horns.
And they lay the pressure on once again. Try to create the turnover, at least slow down the offense. Harris taken away. Taylor and Felix for two. Those two are tough to stop in the open court.
A nice job of spacing out that 2-on-1 fast break and take the ball to the rim till somebody stops you, and nobody ever stopped Javon Felix.
Largest lead tonight for Texas at 6. Near travel for Washburn, and a foul instead. eBay's third.
Now that is Isaiah Taylor on the back end of that, and a nice job of Javon Felix. You see him, he got the ball and he looked for the defense, and once you've broken the free throw line extended, it is your responsibility to take the ball all the way to the rim until somebody stops you, and if they don't, that is your shot.
Even if the defender comes over.
You've got to make the defensive player step in front of you and stop. And that way, you take all the guesswork out of it. And you practice that. And so that the guy running the lane on the other side, you know, everybody in jerking and all that. You get to the free throw line, it is your shot unless he stops you.
Washburn missed his first 2 free throws, and since then has shot well from the line, 4 in a row for Washburn. Junior out of Grand Prairie, not far from here, as Parrish gets a talking to from Brent Scott over on the sideline.
An adjustment, TCU going to a zone, and Trent Johnson, you may have heard him yelling over our mic saying inside out, and they're going to make Texas knock down some jump shots, which is exactly the adjustment they should make.
Double on Felix. 10 to shoot for Texas. Lambert finds himself open. Shaka Smarts tried to get him to shoot a little bit more. Took that one. Didn't hit.
Well, nice adjustment by Trent Johnson. I mean, that's what you need to do right now if you're playing Texas. You haven't been able to keep them out of the paint. Bring that zone, pull it in tight, and just say, hey, you're going to have to not just make 1 or 2 shots. You're going to have to make 8, 9, 10 shots outside the paint.
Difficult look for Washburn, who wanted it all the way.
Also could be described as a very bad shot.
Important rebound there, you think, maybe for Shepherd. Texas with the momentum at this point here in the second half, looking to go to 2-1. Short-handed tonight with DeMarcus Holland, not here because of a family situation. He lost his grandmother earlier this week. How about the work by J.D. Miller down low for TCU? That's the 3rd foul against Claire. Bad news, Texas has 2 post players with 3 personals, but leading by 4.
Pizza and wings? Yes, please. $5 each on Pizza Hut's new $5 flavor menu.
You just being the basketball player.
Don't start talking fashion to me.
Yeah.
If Nike or Adidas don't make it, I don't wear it.
It's brutal. 42-38, Texas with the lead. Shepherd. Another odd shot for TCU. He recovers and can't score.
Two good looks for Kavar Shepard. Uh-oh. Collins just fell down. Well, he was backpedaling and just simply fell down. And a little surprised Isaiah Taylor passed that ball. He should have attacked with Collins sitting on the ground.
Collins got popped by Lammert. His second personal. I feel like this might be one of those down to the final possession games, but not necessarily because of high-level shooting. Some open looks haven't gone down each way.
TCU needs somebody in the middle of the floor.
Williams takes it straight ahead.
Texas mixing up their defense. They were 2-3 zone last time, man this time.
Collins in a no man's land with that pass.
Connor Lammert deflected that pass and wasn't even looking at it. He was looking up the court, had his hand out in the passing lane, had no idea that ball was thrown.
He gets a steal for it.
There's a lesson to be learned there about leaving a hand up in the passing lane.
Or a shoulder. The opportunity presents itself. Felix off the dribble. TCU and Michael Williams, the junior from San Antonio, very steady force as the point guard. And a near turnover turns into an actual turnover for TCU.
An exasperated look by Trent Johnson. It was a turnover waiting to happen, and play started ugly and ended ugly.
5 already this half for TCU in the first 6 and change after only 5 in the first half. And Trent Johnson told us earlier today before his team shooter, I said, we have to protect the ball. We've just been too cavalier with the basketball this year. Second chance blocked away. Rodzianski got the hands up in the thicket of TCU defenders to help with the block.
Good defense.
Rodzianski still scoreless tonight. And a turnover, Texas.
A nice block from behind. I believe it's Chris Washburn that came behind and slapped this against the backboard. And good rebounding effort, though, by Shaq Clare.
He's played a significant game tonight for Texas.
He's played good. I mean, he's been a weapon. And look, the numbers aren't going to jump out on the page and make you think, wow. But he's presented an offensive option inside the paint for the Longhorns.
There's a dicey pass claimed by Miller. He got it back. Parrish fills it up again. That's his 4th 3, a season high.
Now, you asked me in the first half, when TCU's at their best offensively, what are they doing? And the answer to that right now is Brandon Parrish shooting the basketball. And he's shooting a very high percentage from behind the line. And perhaps he needs to look for his shot a little bit more.
Texas, meantime, has missed its last 6. Yancey busts that with his 3rd 3 of the season. Kendall Yancey starting for DeMarcus Holland has 5. Parrish finds himself open again for 3.
A terrific job of TCU of finding Brandon Parrish. And you see the coaches over there, they pointed when they came down, the ball was right in front of them, and Brandon Parrish is on the opposite side of the court. And, you know, obviously if you're the Horned Frogs, you just keep giving him the ball.
Oh, the response for the Horns. Eric Davis, the freshman from Saginaw.
Go to Tevin Mack with the unselfish giving up a shot for a better shot.
TCU's been very hesitant against this pressure.
Very few times have they taken it all the way through and attacked on the backside.
And a whistle against the Longhorns. Texas responds to the 3 barrage from Parrish. Eric Davis, they say he's a pretty chatty freshman, could turn into a very good player. Shaka Smart says Davis hits a 3, 4-point lead for the Horns.
Great beer is a battle between hops and malt. Too much hops, too bitter. Too much malt, too sweet.
Can you read? Now, there's no mystery tonight. We told you the story was going to be Isaiah Taylor and Javon Felix, and it has been 25 points, and every single point they have scored. Let me repeat that. Every single point have come inside the paint. That's amazing. From your point guard and your shooting guard.
We talked about how do you recover from the injury from Cam Ridley. It's guard heavy and dribble penetration. Big hit and no foul. Parrish wins the day that time as he collided with Taylor.
In the open, we talked about not only Isaiah Taylor and Javon Felix. They're separating. I'm not sure they're. That was a warning. Joe DeRosa came in and. Did they call double technical?
Joe DeRosa said double technical foul, 10 there, 11 here. So that would mean Parrish and Eric Davis. Double technical is the call by Joe DeRosa. Well, he was in there very quickly and took charge of the situation.
Well, and that's going to be a 3rd foul for Brandon Parrish, so that is an issue. Eric Davis has shot the ball, knocked down some shots for Texas, but boy, that is a blow to TCU. They cannot afford to lose him here in the second half.
Career high 5 threes tonight for Parrish. Meantime, Davis just his 2nd personal, so that harms Texas a little bit less.
Talking about the numbers that Felix and Taylor have put up in the open, we compared that to Malik Trent and Chauncey Collins, and the 25 for the Texas backcourt compared to just 7 points for the backcourt of the Horned Frogs.
And none in the second half for Trent or Collins. Texas 16-10, the second half lead for the Longhorns, trying to get to 2-1 in the Big 12. And a great recovery by Ebe. No shot. Do not count the basket.
That's a situation that you see so often that nobody helps the helper. Look in the middle of the screen. Prince Ebe eats that up, but then nobody puts a body on Chris Washburn and did a nice job of rebounding effort.
Could make the argument the foul on Lambert was in the act of shooting simply because of the quick trigger by Washburn there. But foul on the floor. Texas with its 6th in the second half. Brodzianski slid in.
Look, that was great execution against the half court. We were talking about in the first half, this zone defense. Connor Lambert on the back of the 2-3 is all the way up at the free throw line extended, and they're leaving that short corner. Brodzianski dove in there, and then by the time that Eric Davis Jr. tried to recover, he sealed him on his back, and that's Brodzianski at 6'10", and Eric Davis at 6'2", and that was very good execution against the zone defense.
Strong free throw shooter, 74%, gets a 2nd one off the 7th personal against the Longhorns, and that's his 1st point of the night on an average of nearly 13 a game for TCU.
Well, prior to the last 3 games, the 7 before that, Brodzianski was averaging 17 points per game.
He was the last guy out of the gym at shoot-around earlier today. Took a boatload of 3-point field goals, but has not hit from the floor tonight. 2-point game for Texas.
TCU back in that 2-3 zone. Well, you need to flatten out, know where Eric Davis is, but I would flatten out all the way off of Isaiah Taylor. Just made 7 3-point field goals this season.
Texas 3 of 15 from 3 in this game. Open look, Davis. And Williams got to it faster than Lambert. Felix has been right in Williams' pocket all night long.
Well, J.D. Collins working hard down there to post up Isaiah Taylor. Well, that's a matchup. If I'm TCU, I'd look at again.
Off the Brodzianski screen. He got it back. And a foul. He's been very active the last couple of possessions, the sophomore from Slovakia.
When you're struggling shooting the basketball, a lot of times if you can get to the free throw line and just the optics, just the confidence of seeing the ball go through the net a couple of times, sometimes can get you going and out of a funk.
By the way, the foul on eBay is his 4th. So the big guy for Texas will have to come out, and Shaq Claire replaces him. He was the guy who started the half with 2 dunks, part of that 8-2 run to open the second half for Texas. Big 12 grinder tonight in Fort Worth. Kansas, Texas Tech on the way after our game, the #1 Jayhawks.
Ooh, Shaq Claire was just wide open right in front of the rim.
Taylor bumping for 2.
You're exactly right. Lowered that right shoulder, bumped off of Michael Williams to create the separation as he leaned back to get that shot off.
We've seen that called at points this year with the displacement directive to the officials. Not that time. Miller, help comes from Claire. He spun away from it, and definitely done by J.D. Miller.
It's a great matchup for TCU. You got Isaiah Taylor down there at 6'1" and J.D. Miller at 6'8", and instead of just settling for shooting up over him, J.D. Miller took that ball down as low as he could get it. Good-looking freshman, 6'8" freshman out of Dallas, and not putting up huge numbers, but solid numbers. 6.4 rebounds. But boy, he's shown us a lot. We've seen him put the ball on the floor. He got a monster block shot. He stepped out, and 2 nice post moves down there with his back to the basket.
He was a mammoth scorer in high school. 24.5 points a game as a senior, the #19 small forward in the country according to ESPN. Coming out, and we'll see what his cap is here at TCU as he goes 1 for 2. Two teams averaging over 70 points a game in the 50 range tonight with about 8 to play. Felix. Collins one-handed it. Maybe not the best idea, but he clutches it finally for the Horned Frogs. And a takeaway. Felix against Williams for 2.
That is the second or third time we've seen Michael Williams struggle against Javon Felix, just dribbling the ball up the floor.
He used to do that back in your Houston days, didn't he?
Struggle dribbling the ball up the floor?
The other one, get into...
Yes, you're right.
I've been watching tape.
I did often.
Washburn going to work on Lambert. Oh, he held his ground well. One-handed rebound for Miller. How about that? Felix right now feels like he owns the matchup against Williams.
Well, you see Michael Williams just put that ball out in front of him, not pretend to say, hey, here's the score coming out of the locker room and go from there.
He's done with it.
What a remarkable comeback. Great win for the Big 12.
Texas by 2 under 7 to play in a big game for TCU. They're at Baylor and at Kansas after this. Close to a must-win tonight. Felix and Taylor, 2-man game.
Good defense.
Davis pounding the dribble. Well short. Lambert's got to be careful. He's got 3 personal.
It's been a long time since Brandon Parrish got a shot in this game.
He's on the bench with 3 fouls. Another turnover for TCU, number 12.
That was a shuffle cut, and boy, the entire TCU coaching staff felt like he got chucked as he came off of that, and that's that point of emphasis. You can't block and you can't chuck cutters coming through the lane.
Blks hits the post, got it back on the reload. Well off the mark.
The 2-3 zone has been effective for TCU.
Blks has not hit a three in the game tonight. Texas 3 on 19 from beyond the arc. Malik Trent is fouled attacking the rim. Just 2 points for the sophomore tonight, and he'll go to the line.
Well, credit that play to Kavar Shepard. Watch Kavar Shepard to the right of your screen. Seals Connor Lambert, created a driving lane, and well, that's the importance of doing your job. And your job may not end up with you shooting or you scoring, but well, Kavar Shepard doing his job down there in the post.
TCU, a much better free throw shooting team than last year. Still not tremendous, 70% coming in 6th best in the league, but well up from last season.
Well, looking at the glass half full, in conference play, they're shooting 80%, and that will win you some basketball games. Well, I would imagine that zone defense will start getting tighter and tighter.
Taylor the find. Open look miss, and TCU can take the lead with a field goal. Texas's guards really challenging the young guards of TCU, and no shot. 2 free throws the rest of the way for the Horned Frogs.
Eric Davis that time for Texas did a nice job in transition defense of finding Brandon Parrish early. Eric Davis stayed all the way on the opposite side of the floor, did not get sucked into playing weak side defense, and knew he needed to match up with Parrish in transition. Nice job.
To the junior from Dallas, Kavar Shepard. No good. He's got 4 tonight.
When he comes up on his toes, he's a really good free throw shooter. When he leaves those heels down on the ground, not so much.
Like that.
Like that.
4 in a row for TCU. Tie ball game. Aggressive defense from TCU's guards out of the arc recently. Claire shows himself again and scores.
Well, you see the bench, the reaction by the Longhorns. That was a much needed point in the paint basket by a Texas big man.
Effective first half from Claire. That's his first bucket in the second half. Whoa.
A terrible passing angle. Well, Kavar Shepard had somebody up on his high side. They tried to feed it to him from the top of the key. Throw it down to the 45-degree angle or down to the baseline and then give it to him.
Well, they elevated the floor here a little bit when they did the renovations, but that wasn't the intended result. Ball out of bounds to the Horned Frogs. Shepard looks a little tired.
Yeah, he does look tired. Trent Johnson, execute, please. That was the politest request I've ever heard from a head coach. Very rarely do you hear a please on the end of your request.
Washburn, thank you. We're tied.
I think you look at him and say, Coach, if you just say please more often.
That's all it takes. Lambert off the mark.
Boy, he's calling that same cross play up in front of us that Washburn just scored off of.
Trent. Early shot for TCU. You like the shot?
No, I mean recognition. Chris Washburn just scored. Brandon Parrish hadn't shot in about 8 or 10 minutes, and I don't know why you would crank that up unless it was a late shot clock, which it was not. Good pass.
Cross lane from Claire. Taylor couldn't finish. Texas fans wanted a foul.
I would go back to Chris Washburn. I'd step him out there and let him attack from the top of the key.
Into the paint, the hard drive from Collins. Felix for Lambert filling the lane. Oh, we've got a dandy down the stretch. Reed Geddes.
Chris Washburn has been so effective with the dribble drive and from the top of the key, and boy, earning two the hard way is exactly right. Chauncey Collins, a nice finish, and look at Trent Johnson, got a little dance in his step.
TCU, they last were in the NCAA tournament the year Bryce Drew hit that shot at Valparaiso. It's been a long time for the Horned Frogs. 0-2 starts a Big 12 play, could really use this one. Lambert, the miss.
There have been an inordinate number of single-digit games to start the Big 12 conference play, and well, this one looks like it's going to add to that tally.
It's the first point for Connor Lambert in the game tonight. Collins gets it right back from Washburn.
Boy, I don't know what bodies are flying over here right in front of us, right in front of Trent Johnson at the top of your screen. I didn't see what happened, but Michael Williams is hurt.
He wanted a foul. He's stuck over in the corner. Collins 3 to shoot. Chauncey Collins got around Lambert and didn't draw iron. It's Texas ball.
The TCU's had 4 or 5 really good possessions, and that one was almost inexplicable. I mean, the ball never penetrated the top of the key.
Almost like Collins didn't realize how deep they were into the possession. 2 minutes left in Fort Worth. Davis playing significant minutes, the freshman guard out of Saginaw, Michigan.
This zone has almost eliminated Isaiah Taylor's effectiveness. They've got to get him going.
Davis the dish and the finish for eBay. Pressure on. Tip ball will go to TCU with $1:32 to play.
A nice drop-off by Eric Davis, and Prince Ebay's done that the entire second half. He has just stayed about 3 or 4 feet away from the basket and then finished strong. Okay, here's a rule I'd like to see him change.
What's that?
I don't think they went far enough. When you bring the ball up against full court pressure, you have 10 seconds. If the ball goes out of bounds, your 10 seconds recounts. If you call timeout, if you call a timeout, you get a new 10 seconds. They figure if you're willing to burn a timeout, we'll give you a new 10 seconds. I'd like to see that rule change, where even if you call a timeout, the 10-second does not restart.
You'd like to have it stand no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, if you play great defense and 8 seconds have burned off, you call a timeout, you still just have 2 seconds to get the ball across half court.
Nearly a steal that time for Taylor. Miller does get it in and across for TCU. Where do you go offensively here?
Brandon Parrish, but he has not gotten a look. I can't remember the last time he got a shot. Well, you got a mismatch inside.
Washburn. Oh, knocked it down.
Standing on the three-point line.
Timeout, Texas. Maybe not the guy shooting it that TCU wanted, but the shot the Horned Frogs wanted.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball.
Played the 1 year at UTEP, transferred to TCU, had a left hand injury this year, came back the last 4 games, got the start tonight. Down to 15 to shoot for the Longhorns. Taylor got it onto the rim. And a foul called. If it's eBay, it's his 5th.
They got that on Lammert. But a big, strong rebound by Brandon Parrish. And watch him fight to get inside. And, boy, he has a good, strong defensive rebound.
Texas got a break there, too, with the foul on Lammert. That's his 4th personal. So he and eBay and Claire, the bigs for Texas, all have 4. And Parrish, 17 of 26 from the line. Not a lot of chances from there this year. He missed the first.
A little surprising. Shoots 49% behind the three-point line, but not a tremendous free throw shooter.
Missed them both. What's Texas want here?
Dribble penetration.
There it is. Taylor lifted out. eBay couldn't get his hands around it. TCU basketball.
Texas comes into this game last in the Big 12 in free throw shooting. If you're TCU, even though you have the lead, if it's a gimme, boy, you need to go ahead and foul and make them score at the free throw line.
And if you're Texas here, are you pressing then fouling? Is that your plan?
I would press as hard as I could, and I don't know that I would foul until that clock got down around 10. TCU has struggled with the press, and they've struggled just dribbling the ball against man pressure.
One timeout left for TCU. Texas backed off for a moment. Collins into the front court. And a foul. Nearly a three-point play opportunity off the feed from Collins.
Well, Brandon Parrish has not taken a shot since the 11:45 mark. The last 2 possessions for TCU have gone through Brandon Parrish. Now he needs to step to the free throw line and knock down 2 for the Horned Frogs.
5th foul against Prince eBay. He is done tonight for Texas in case of overtime this evening. They'd be down their starting big man.
Good basketball game.
No good on the first one. We remind you that the College Football Playoff National Championship game presented by AT&T Monday, January 11th. Coming up this week, 8:30 on ESPN. Live on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Alabama Clemson vying for the championship, 8:30 Eastern. TCU looking for a first Big 12 win. Up 1. Parrish misses again. He's 0 for 4 down the stretch. Texas 2 timeouts. Taylor fouled. TCU fouls to give. That's just the 5th for the Horned Frogs here in the half.
Trent Johnson's going to call a timeout and talk to them about the foul situation. Say we still have 1 more to give. And you don't want to foul just immediately. Wait until Texas starts initiating some sort of offense, but do not let them get a shot up without burning that 6th foul.
You run the risk, though, don't you, of Texas flipping up a shot quickly. Davis, the freshman, will throw it in. Timeout.
Ooh, boy. That was close. Connor Lammert was open there for a second. He came across the lane, had his hand up, and Javon Fleeks almost threw that pass. They want to finish one.
Taylor the catch. Down to 8 seconds. Taylor, side of the backboard. Lammert had it blocked by Washburn. TCU wins.